Welcome to the new JFK show, everyone. Number 277. And we're going to have a retrospect like you could never imagine tonight. We're going to go back to the very, very beginning where Larry Rivera, Jim Fetzer, and myself were unsatisfied with the state of JFK research. And Jim had just exited the Black Op Radio show and was replaced by Jim DiEugenio. And from that point on, we began to take it on ourselves because if they would have been doing a good job, we didn't really necessarily have to do it.
Jim, that used to be Jim's show, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's when we began, because once DiEugenio came in, I mean, it just went downhill because, I mean, he's enough to put you to sleep. He's so boring. But not only that, he's wanting to suppress any new evidence whatsoever. Just stunning.
Well, Oliver Stone had him, do the new.
What a colossal blunder, Larry. Look how pathetic that turned out. And I think that's by design.
Absolutely. All right, I was trying to get my microphone to work, but it doesn't seem to be, so I'll just go with the webcam mic. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go back to when it all began. And right here. Okay, now, if you'll notice with the new, let me move you around here, with the new JFK show, it really began in 2013 when Dr. Fetzer asked myself to make edit a video of his presentation. And this is the very first one of our videos. JFK at 50, the who, how, and why. And you can see 2,600,000 views. So what we're going to do, we're going to kind of go through.
So Gary, what you're saying is that this YouTube channel has resuscitated like the Phoenix bird. Am I right?
Right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned that in the beginning. Our YouTube channel during the first wave of cancellation and deletions, the new JFK show went down first. So it's been 4 years. Okay. In fact, I'm going to show y'all a couple of things that's going to blow your mind here. I'm going to actually show you the analytics here. So give me 1 second.
Oh yeah. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be through the roof.
Right. Okay. Now here's your analytics, and here's what we can show you right here. I'm just gonna bare my soul. All right. This is when we got deleted. So you can go across the graph and see that there's no views. No views into 2022.
Been flushed down with the pandemic.
And then last week, on the 9th of January, I opened up my email and YouTube said, we might have made a few mistakes. We're sorry about that. You can have your channel back.
If Elon Musk can allow Trump back in, I guess this isn't much of a problem.
Absolutely. All right. So now, everyone keep in mind, this is only a week ago. All right. So as we move across, we got 248 views by the next day. And then by around January 13th, kaboom. All right. So as you can see over here, this updates every 48 hours. So it's telling you that every 48 hours, we're getting 6,835, and it just clicked up. And this is our subscribers. And the subscribers have gone up 87 since last week. So obviously people are looking for the truth.
This is scandalous.
Yeah. So here's,
can you imagine, 4 years lost? Jim.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, 185 shows, and I'm gonna have to scroll down one time just because I went to that page, but I'll get to it. I'm gonna quickly scroll through all of our shows, and we're gonna kind of go through it and discuss each one as best.
Well, the JFK Horseman part 1 and 2, where
That's one of our biggest views. And that was, see, what blows my mind is some of our best shows was when we were just, green behind the ears at all this video stuff. And it's amazing how good the information was. And I'm gonna get to the
Well,
bottom.
there's shows there when our guy from Canada was involved. Remember, what was his name?
Absolutely. All right, so here we're gonna start. All right, we just talked about these two, JFK 50, Who, How, and Why. I then the very first shows was right during this is in 2013 because this was the Santa Barbara conference.
Yeah, right.
Bill Nelson spoke first, and then John Hankey spoke second, and it was Peter Janney third. They're not necessarily in order. Then the king, the grand exalted mystic ruler, Larry Rivera, the man with a steamroller, did that's when I met Larry. Up until then, I never met him before. Then we had
Well,
Ralph.
this is the first time. This is the first time you and I met, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. So things were really about to boil over once we got together.
He was wearing a raccoon hat.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not like a guy with a raccoon hat at the Fess Parker Resort?
That's right.
I mean, I was at Jim Fess
Sitting
Parker.
in the first row.
And what was his show? Daniel Boone? Yeah, Daniel Boone. And you might not believe it, but his son, Israel, I met him in the John. We were both taking a whiz, and he liked my hat, my raccoon hat. And he said, we talked a little bit. He says, I was the son in the show. So that was amazing. So anyway, here's when I met Larry. Then Rouse and Kay blowing our minds about Lee being in the doorway. And then wrapping it up was Dr. Fetzer on there.
And that was what, 2 years before the overlays, because Richard Hook had already, established that, with his 50 points of light, and we just followed in his footsteps, and confirmed, that it was Lee.
Yeah. All right, so let me get this clear. If you see, we kind of start around 53, around that area. The new JFK show was an audio radio show on Revere Radio Network for a long time. And once a week, we had an hour-long audio show. And the very first thing that we did was review with Jim. Black Op Radio had a series of videos called 50 Reasons for 50 Years, where they had all different types of researchers, Bill Simpich, on and on and on. And we played it and we critiqued it. A lot of them were really good. A lot of them weren't so good. So
there's the one that when we went to Dallas and we drove from New Orleans to Dallas.
Yeah.
2014. Who can forget that? You rented that SUV or whatever. Remember that caravan or whatever?
Yeah.
Sure. And I had my arm in a sling.
Yeah. Just operated from a rotator cuff or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I called the show On the Road with Dr. Fetzer, Larry Rivera, and Gary King. And look how early this is. Larry, JFK Part 1, one of the most important, significant JFK shows ever. And there's Part 2, just waiting on you now, 8 years ago. All right, so there's On the Road.
Cited by Douglas Horn,
These are not all in order, I noticed, Gary.
Yeah, some as best we could, but this is how I was putting them up.
Oh, Steve Martin, Shirley Martin's son. That was great.
Yeah, Shirley Martin.
That's a witness right there, brother.
Yeah. And then we've got Billy Lovelady, show number 47.
Yeah.
And
we were just getting started on Lovelady, when the overlays came out in 2015 and then perfected, and refined, and it was all over, game over, the man in the doorway. And
this is a neglected part of the case is Permindex. Don Fox was really all over it.
Yeah.
Clay Shaw, of a highly decorated man, and not just in American, foreign militaries. Now this was a fellow that recorded, this just happened to be on TV and he recorded it with the audio only. So this is Jim Garrison on the Steve Allen show with Bob Dornan. Now, Bob Dornan is a future presidential candidate. He was probably the most obvious op you could ever see, or ever recognize. And then this one's really good. Jim Garrison on the Johnny Carson show.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah.
And then I met David Denton. We did a show with him. Then Don Fox came in with some Fletcher Prouty stuff. Look, Larry kicking butt with Algin's 55, the Ike Algin's timeline. Come on. And then Larry Rivera, multiple passes. I got so much out of that show, it just blows my mind. Now, this is before James Norwood was turned on.
Flipped on us. Yeah. How strange was that?
Hey, whatever happened to that guy?
That was a good show. It's about propaganda.
Yeah. The professor, man.
Here I'd recommended him, and Ralph made him chairman, and then he turned out and flipped and said he thought
He
the
used,
whole
he used
wrong.
your books to do courses at the University of Minnesota. Isn't that right?
I know. Is that
Frederick
amazing?
Davy Plaza was the book, An Assassination Science. For his courses there.
I'm not even sure what these shows are about. I got to go back and retitle them. All right, so now this is Dr. Fetzer. What year would you say this series you recorded?
That I did that 1995, I'm gonna guess.
Okay, well, there's the first part. Part two.
Yeah, you got all 7 parts there, Gary. That's really good.
Okay, and then, all right. So then, the unresponsive press. That was the last part of it.
That 7-part series, by the way, is the one that Gary Aguilar and Kathy Cunningham killed when I got a great distributor. They were starting to sell like hotcakes, and they threatened to sue them if they didn't take it down.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And that was just because I'd given them credit.
What was the name of our friend, our Canadian friend who used to do? Because I see that
Chance George.
Yeah.
Who?
Chance George.
Yeah, Chance. Yeah.
NBC, and there's his little thing in the back. It was very professional way back then.
Yeah, Chance was brilliant.
Yeah, until they started
messing with him. So,
mess with him.
Are we getting our feet wet about going where other places won't go? JFK and Henry Kissinger, and then look, Don Fox. Sometimes he wasn't holding back, but the sad state of Black Op Radio. We did a show about that. How they can't come around for the Z film. Lee in the doorway. That just no progress in a long time. I then Gary Mack flipped on us.
Yeah.
Any more comment, Dr. Fetzer?
No, I'm trying to catch up with all this, Larry. It's wonderful to see them all.
Remarkable.
Gerald?
I think it's really good if you have all the numbers, and can you put them in order? Can you rearrange the order?
With YouTube, once you put them up, they stay in that order. You can't.
Okay.
Then the body switch, number 71.
Holy shit.
100,000 views. Then Morningstar, you remember our show with Robert Morningstar?
Yeah.
And then Morningstar Part 2, that was number 73.
The body switch got 98,000 views. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then this is when they really hacked us off, and we went to war with Black Op Radio. So this is number 74, the new JFK show at war with Black Op.
This is crazy.
I promise you, Dr. Fetzer's got steam coming out of his forehead at the top of that one. All right, then we had Ralston K talking about, this is when he was doing Lee in the doorway more,
Yeah.
the early days.
He was really a champion at that. I was so impressed.
Mm-hmm. And this is when Jim Garrison says, yep, Lee was standing in the doorway watching the parade.
That's right.
Right there. And that's advertising Larry's book.
That's right.
All right. So then more Permindex too. Of course, he's all over it. Don Fox. Everyone's always wondering where Don Fox is. And I tell him he helps us out behind the scenes. I then remember we had the New Orleans conference. with Judy Baker and Ed Hass,
Yeah. And
on
you,
and on and on. And this is the one
That didn't get very many views. That only got 550.
hey, they're up there now. But so and then this is the one that Chance George wanted to do with us, the Masonic involvement.
yeah, that's right.
He was,
Yeah.
he was more hip to
For
the
real.
Masonic symbolism and things like that.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, then this is when I think, Larry, you came out with the overlay solid proof 2 with the shirt. Yeah, sometimes
I can't believe how dishonest, how deceptive, how fraudulent was Robert Groden in putting Billy in a bad shirt to fake it. I mean, that is disgusting. If anyone questioned Robert Groden's integrity, there it is, the proof that he's not an honest broker.
I believe
it all came out sooner or later.
yeah, we bring his name up quite often in these shows. All right, then this is one of the best things you could watch. This is when Doug Horn starts citing Larry Rivera's work, and that's when he showed in the conference that
At Bethesda. That was at Bethesda, right?
yeah, when they said that the agents fanned out into the crowd, and he said
Yeah,
that he
Cronkite said that, yeah.
it's Larry Rivera this, Larry Rivera that.
Well, it's hard to argue, when you hear the actual voices of the motorcycle cops, who were never brought before the Warren Commission, and who, it had to be up to
Think,
huh?
think about it, Larry. I mean, here are the 4 most important witnesses next to Clint Hill, and they're not even called before the commission.
Well, Bobby and Martin were, but for only 7 pages. But the 2 most important, which were Douglas Jackson and James Chaney, of course, were never brought before the commission. Only until Fred Newcomb commissioned, those tapes. So important. I mean, those are so. I think those are some of the most important tapes in history.
In history,
yes, actually, they are. They are. They are, Larry.
That Fred Newcomb would take it, and send the Zapruder copies, bootleg copies of the Z film to all of these cops, and then follow up and call them up and get their impressions, over the phone and everything, at the time, 1971. And this is not the way things are today, but quite impressive in that those tapes survived until Tyler, made them available to us. They changed the whole history of what happened on Elm Street,
Yeah, absolutely.
And when he sent the tapes to each cop, he didn't tell them he was sending it to the other cops. So he's getting an unbiased opinion. Is that right, Larry?
Right. Yeah. They were individual conversations where one did not know what the other one, had dealt with the interviewer, in this case, somebody that he had commissioned to make those calls and record them, and everything, John Whitney. And I mean, you just cannot argue against that, Gary. I mean, how can you argue against? And it was just 1 or 2; it's all of them.
So Larry, didn't someone trust you and made the tapes available to you?
That was Tyler.
How did that come about again?
I'm talking about Tyler. Yeah, you're talking about Tyler Newcomb.
Wow, Tyler Newcomb.
Yeah, that was Fred Newcomb's son.
Mm-hmm. Then
who actually went to Santa Barbara. All right, that's the story of this whole thing. Him and his mom were at Santa Barbara, and then he contacted me after finding out that we were doing this in-depth study on the JFK Horseman, and the rest is history. You cannot refute what these men are talking about and screaming from the grave on what happened on Elm Street. Stainless Ellis, the chunk of skull picked up by
Larry, you're not one of the most cited JFK researchers in the world for no reason.
I don't. It's just what's there. You cannot refute. the tape recordings, you know,
True.
those.
Absolutely
And
true.
the thing
And
is that I was able to validate at least one of them with the son of Douglas Jackson, you know.
And why would Black Op not bring up these tapes and have trumpets blowing, showing them up? It just blows my mind. There's never not a peep about it.
Let me
Okay.
tell you, even if I did not have validation from all the other cops, just by using Douglas Jackson, because his son confirmed that that was his father, you know, it just, and just what his father had to say, you know, five guys, you know, surrounded the limo with arms drawn, you know, and he's saying that's not what, you know, that Z film has been all cut up, you know, it's been edited,
And edited. And
you
no,
know, hello, you know.
yeah. All right.
So
So
what else do you need?
yeah. So we got the Mossad in Dallas,
Yeah.
show 84 with O'Larry
Yeah.
with his mustache.
Very much worth exploring that one there.
This was I think we were taking comments and stuff on that one. No, some of these shows are loaded with gems that the title doesn't necessarily
Oh, the
tell.
Blink Ray show, that one there, that's outstanding there, right there, Gary.
There go Phil.
That's based on Roy Schaefer's work, you know, the Blink Ray show. That's highly recommended because it proves that the Z film has been massively edited, you know. What else can I say?
What a classic show. And then Doug Horn, Ed Haslam, and Phil Nelson at the same conference. I think that was the one in Washington around Bethesda.
Mhm.
Okay, Roy Lewis, Larry, that's your buddy, man.
Yeah, they're in Mesquite, outside of Dallas, you know. Roy worked at the TSBD and he clarified a lot of things that heretofore were not information that was not out there, you know, specifically, you know, the concept of all this work being done on the 6th floor, you know, and a lot of other details that he was able to provide that went against, you know, what is in the history books, you know.
And
Well,
also, how many black people were interviewed or lack of it being interviewed?
yeah,
About that.
well, you know, Roy, like I said, he and his friends who were African American saw the whole thing from a different perspective. And that's one of the things that I have been talking about all along, especially when you consider that so many African Americans were lining the parade route there on the north curve of Elm Street. And we've never even had, not even an identification of any of those people. I mean, that is so incredible, you know. And that's exactly what Roy told me. He said, hey, you know, this was Dallas, 1963, man. You know, when you're African American in Dallas, man, if you stay out of trouble, you know. So basically, you know, that's how that went down.
Now, where does other JFK researchers not go is right here. Anything to do with Israel being involved and basically having the country handed over to them after this assassination. Well, we do go there. This is
Oh,
not
the Cruz connection. Remember when we were going through all that thing with Ted Cruz and his dad, Raphael, and all that Madsen took that way beyond what anybody would have expected, you know.
So Dr. Fetzer, you go ahead and tell us about the next 7 shows. I call them Who's the Fraud? You decide.
Well, this was a bizarre attack from Kennedy's and King, the new version of the journal that DiEugenio was
I thought, Jim, just a sec, I found the ad hominem here that happened at the time, and that personal attack on you on their Sitka to be very, very distressing at the time. Remember, it was just so incredible going through that. Imagine what you personally were going through, but you know, it was a whole summer of real stress.
What was ridiculous because he was going over all my stuff, not JFK, where he has some knowledge.
Oh, and there was something about the rise and fall right? The rise and
No,
fall.
no, he would never admit there was a rise, the fall and decline.
And the
How I can fall without having risen is a good question, but that was his take, right? Taking no prisoners.
title
But he went
again?
on to all my stuff about JFK, not just about JFK, but 9/11,
Everything. I know the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
Sandy Hook, even the Holocaust, moon landing. He doesn't know anything about any of this, and it was just ridiculous. So it's easy to lie, but it can be complicated to explain why it is a lie and how you know. And it took me 7 different episodes to do that, but it was very thorough and meticulous. We'd quote a passage from Diogenio, and then I'd go through and produce a proof that refuted every one of his allegations against me. I don't believe even one of them withstood criticism.
It's amazing. All right. So
Ted Cruz, father. Yeah, that was the summer of 2016, Gary.
this is
Yeah,
when
and that right above that when we did the overlays, Marilyn Monroe. That was a great show, man. That's a classic. How many views did you get there?
hey, you're way ahead of me. Yeah, there's a Cruz. There's Robert Groden, Dr. Fetzer, ripping him another one. Mark Lane, Ted Cruz, Mark Lane, John Hankey show. Those are always good. And then, okay, there's where you are. Okay, now completely unrelated is Paul McCartney's son said he died. That's got 607,000 views, but I don't even know how it got there. So,
Well, would you believe I'm still dealing with this issue? We just recovered a George Harrison Last Testament where he explains how Paul died and was replaced, and I've just put up on my BitChute channel, Jim Fetzer, for anyone who wants to follow up. And it's, in my opinion, highly accurate, except he leaves out this MI5 agent, Maxwell, who actually killed Paul with a silver hammer. They have Paul being decapitated in the automobile accident. But they talk about Maxwell harassing and threatening to kill the other 3 remaining Beatles if they kept talking about or leaving clues about Paul's death.
Wow.
It's really fascinating. It's right there now on James at my BitChute channel, Jim Fetzer.
mm-hmm. And this is when they pulled a false flag in Dallas. When they were.
Oh yeah. You know, Jim and I that November went and visited, and we took pictures right there at that corner there.
Well, we were at the hotel right next door.
Yeah. We took pictures right there in front of
Yeah, they had a small sign. It was a bank sign, but it looked big in the
Oh yeah, the way they did the angle and all that.
Yeah.
It was a tiny sign, not a big deal. And then
total bullshit. Total bullshit.
Good show. Harper Fragment plus Marguerite Oswald. I love these shows here. The one
down memory lane.
Oh, this is Larry. Now look, that comparison is where Larry's doing his overlays and showing us how it's done.
Yeah.
No, that's the one right below. The one right below.
The one below it where you have it.
That's
there. The one with Maryland. Yeah. This was
that's
really excellent.
That's a classic right there. That's a classic.
That was an excellent show, Larry. You were really on your game. It was so good.
And that was right after it was presented at Dallas that November.
Yeah.
And then
and somewhere in there, you weren't allowed to give your presentation at the fake trial.
At the trial, 2017, right after the hurricanes.
Disgusting.
Book out. A lot of stuff on book out.
We had Rachel Oswald. We discussed her talking to the press rarely, and then we had Joseph Miltier, Ed Butler, and Carlos Brunier. You know, Larry's all over those guys. And then,
did we have a show with your guy there in New Orleans? What was his name?
Doggone, what's his name? See, that's a radio show.
Yeah. Well, oh man, you forgot you forgot about that guy?
I know it was a 2-hour.
Nathan.
Oh no, you talking about Battle of New Orleans? Okay, that's something else. I thought you were talking about. Remember when they had a new investigation and they fired?
No, I'm talking about Nathan. We did a couple of shows with Nathan. You know, you don't have those up there?
There it is, right there.
Oh, okay.
Battle of New Orleans Radio.
All right.
So that one's up. But also, I really like the June Oswald, Rachel Oswald, And then this Kenneth Bruton, wasn't that when we were deciphering the tapes that were a little difficult to understand?
Yeah. And but then then a friend of mine went to the National Archives and actually transcribed. He went and digitized the actual tapes, and right on time for the book, the JFK Horseman, and that was very interesting because it even though the parts that we knew were, said what we perceived that they, said in the recording, but these were a lot better, better quality.
Yeah.
And his name is Carl Golovin, and he's always at conferences and everything. One day
I interviewed him, Carl Golovin. Yeah.
he flagged me down at a conference. Says, "You need anything in from the National Archives?" I hang out there all the time, and I said, "Yeah, give me the Lovelady tapes, And lo and behold, like 3 or 4, maybe a month later, he said, "I got them. Here they are."
All right. So this was I'm not sure. There's a lot of video fakery. Probably.
I think I was probably talking about Hillary's use of body doubles in that.
Yeah, that was for the election. Yeah, 2016.
Yeah.
Larry with his overlays totally convinced me.
Yep.
1000%.
Brilliant stuff.
And there's no book out.
Mm-hmm.
Or James book out. 3 shows in a row with Ralph Sinkay. And then this was a great show with the shirts and the pocket and all that.
Oh, Fidel Castro. We did one on Fidel Castro. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And then more on book out. Then the garage shooter.
So all this stuff just magically reappeared, huh, Gary? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, what would happen? You can always appeal to have your channel reinstated, and I've appealed about every 6 months for 4 years, and they told me no. They just kept saying no, and then finally, I applied again, and then they said, "Hey, okay, sorry, we made a mistake," and they said, everything's good. But
that one up there that says Jerry Coley, that's a hell of a show right there, man, because that's the guy that witnessed the blood at the top of the stairs there in front of the pergola there, the north portion of the Dealey Plaza. Scroll down a little bit there, Gary. Where it says Jerry Coley and the Z film right there. No.
He meant up.
Other way, okay.
Scroll up.
Yeah, there you go, Jerry Coley. That's a tremendous one right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I wanted to. I also want to make this clear. There's about 180 videos. Well, there's more since I uploaded, but there were around 380 videos. And so before they gave us our channel back, they purged the channel of any Sandy Hook. We had a lot of Sandy Hook videos up here.
Really?
Did we?
Oh yeah, that's the reason the channel was really taken down. And
that's why they gave it back. They got rid of all the Sandy Hook.
Oh yeah, we're down to only they left the JFK and a couple of other little videos, but not many. Like maybe.
Well, consider yourself lucky, man. I mean,
well, and it comes to JFK research, man. They this is a lot of and
backyard man. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
And see, these are the radio shows. These are the first ones. So I started putting them up. And this is the one with the Kennedy and the Treasury.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Mark Shaw, Dorothy Kilgallen. Remember that one? 135. This is the lawyers that were involved with the single.
Yeah. The lion bastards.
Yeah, Backyard Man.
That's a classic. Backyard Man, Orozco White.
Yeah. Badge Man, number 138.
Yeah.
The JFK footage. No telling what that's about. David Martin and also known as DC Dave. Remember that show?
Yeah. What happened to that guy?
He's a good guy. I'm still in contact with him.
Blender, first appearance.
Books. All right.
Doorway, Who and Where. More Blender.
Yep. Larry was getting in the groove with Blender.
Yeah.
I love this show. We went over all the books that we highly recommended, in JFK. And then more Blender and this info stuff. Obviously, looking at some early footage. Then more Blender.
Mhm.
Dale Myers in Blender.
Warren Commission crooks. I mean lawyers.
Yeah.
Jim Mars.
DC Dave again. And then this was what you on a show with Brian Rube where you did I think the whole presentation, a 2 hour,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
1 hour.
yeah.
So we turned that into a JFK show. The Warren Commission.
Jim Mars. Boy, is he missed.
Hey,
Boy,
Phil Nelson.
What a
yeah,
good guy. He was a good guy.
man, is he missed? Is he freaking missed?
There you
Early,
got your interviews, Larry, right there.
Beverly Brunson.
Yeah.
And the Horseman again.
Yeah. Okay.
Judy Baker. We did
remember
a couple
Amelia
of shows with
Earhart?
her.
Remember Amelia Earhart?
Yeah, yeah. I think those were right. I think those were identified. I think they checked out, her and Fred Noonan, her navigator,
Mhm.
I think
A good one. This is when Jim Mars passed away. This is
yeah,
when you started getting the documents, 2017.
yeah.
And then Judy Baker Part 1. That's when Judy Baker Part 2.
Roscoe, yeah, Roscoe.
Mhm. Book out. Remember Amy Joyce? She was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Book out again. Documents, more and more. This is when the documents just came out, and they said there was nothing in them until Larry showed them better.
So,
This is
hey,
where
hey,
Larry
the kids.
rehearsed his presentation for the mock trial. They wouldn't let him present.
Right. If you want to know about that, here it is, 170.
Yeah.
Larry Rivera out of the witnesses at the mock trial. All right. Then we've got Christine Blosdale. Oh, that's a radio show host who interviewed you, Dr. Fetzer, and we made a show out of it.
Very.
But it's an extra. We didn't give it a number.
You know what? You know why it is important to have these up there? Because a lot of this research that I'm seeing here was right after the document dump, and a lot of work was put into that,
Yeah.
and that sometimes you say, okay, who's the first one that talked about this, and here it is, and we're talking about 2017,
Yeah. 5 years ago.
Sylvia
That
Duran.
is one nasty piece of work, Roscoe White.
Oh, hell shit.
What do you think he may have killed 50 witnesses? Good God.
Mandarin.
Unbelievable.
Lady and Lee. All right, now this is the hottest mug shot there could possibly be. If you can look that good on a mug shot, you know you can tear it up. But this is her too.
That's a very nice. The other one, the second one over on the left, is much nicer photograph.
Right. But this is under duress, and she still looks pretty.
And you know something? Remember that we finished last week's show with the thing about Lee Oswald's passport, and which is the one that the Lee supposedly presented in Mexico City as part of his package to get his visa approved, and go on to Cuba, when clearly it was stamped on his passport, as seen in here behind me, that Cuba was not, in a destination that would be available with his passport. But would she have known, and would she have noted this, and we don't even know that, and what kind of response would have happened at the consulate level when somebody was, flash a U.S. passport and say, I want to go to Cuba, okay? And what would have been her interaction with somebody with that kind of passport? That's if she would have played along, or if she would have been, obligated to say, hey, sorry, this is where it ends here. You know what I'm saying? We have no information on that at all,
Beautiful.
So,
beautiful lady, and this is remember we had Lance? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, the kids, yeah, hell
Yeah, they were good.
Mike
They were
Cunningham,
good for a couple of
Mike,
kids. They did a great job.
Mike Cunningham's kids.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then this was Ralph with the post office box of Lee Oswald's, another good show. This is when Larry's getting in the documents, Leering 3, Leering.
Yeah,
This is how-
the supposed witness that confirmed that Cyrus Duran and Lee Oswald had an affair. You know, only two people.
And this was the fake Oswald in Mexico City.
Right.
He just been.
By the way, the new documents pan out that say that J.C. King, who was head of the Western Hemisphere Division, knew the identity, and also the people at the CIA in Mexico City knew who this guy was. They knew his identity, and they were worried that he would come forth and reveal his name just to clear his name, from the whole thing about the assassination.
I have a source in Toronto who tells me it's Walter Tabinski.
Well, whoever it was, they knew.
He's an associate of Clyde, who's a mass killer from Toronto.
But the new documents bear out that Winscott and J.C. King knew who he was, and they just let it play on.
Well, it was no doubt their fraud. They set it up.
Yeah, of course. And when you have the Mexican presidents in your pocket, it makes it a little easier. It's like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah. All right. Remember Linda Willis? We thought we got her confused with the little girl, and she was very, very proper woman who gave a really good account of what happened that day. And this is when I started. See, here's when, in other words, this was the last show when we got.
You decided to upload. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Then I've been putting these that have been on 153 News. So the new JFK show number 184, excellent show. Billy Lovelady tapes. Got Ralph back in on that one. Then we had the show about stealing the autopsy photos. That was a great show. All right, then this is
Rod McKenzie. Oh wow.
Yeah. This is when you were really pointing fingers and naming names. This is our Next Generation show again. LBJ and Gaddafi. Remember when the Gaddafi speech, when he was explaining the whole thing in detail?
Was he there? Is that with Jackie?
That's
yeah.
How could she be smiling like that in the company of Lyndon? That's outrageous.
They were attending all kind of banquets and stuff.
And it looks like she's wearing the same attire of
virtually from the assassination.
Yeah. Was that morning?
That's a little strange.
Yeah. And then
I wonder, Larry, that would be I would not think she would have that smile in the vicinity of Lyndon after the shooting.
Okay, that's a good one. Amy Joyce, Gorilla Man. That's the one that we did with where she discovered Gorilla Man, and I integrated that into the book because it was so important. Yeah.
I like Rod McKenzie.
Yeah, he was an excellent interview. So these were uploaded 3 days ago. Remember I told you I was uploading like mad? So these are the new ones, but they're gonna all be there pretty soon. So we've got Bush in Dallas, Shield shooting in Life magazine. That's probably us busting somebody if there's anybody.
Atlanta Garro. Oh my God. Crazy ass Atlanta.
Jackie's glove, Larry.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That was brilliant work on your part, Larry. Brilliant.
That shows the blowout in the back of the head. Beverly.
Elena Garro.
Yeah.
FBJ, Israel's ally, where no other JFK researchers ever go with us. All right. Operation Northwoods on steroids. That's some of the documents that we uncovered where.
Yeah. They got Mike up there, Mike Machamp, David Mantig, Beverly.
Yeah, this is a good one. Signatures of Lee Oswald. Remember you did all the signatures of Lee Oswald?
Yeah, which are many. Too many to count.
Yeah, Emory Roberts, Beverly Brunson, Mike McKenzie, he's one of our favorite ones. We did 4 shows with him. And there's Dr. Fetzer's best bud.
Oh, the Turk Vaganov. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I started reading old newspapers I found in my mother's attic about the assassination.
Hey, by the way, a colleague of mine has sent me newspapers in a magazine here that, this is Texas Monthly. Larry, you might find this useful.
Very
Would you
good.
like to? Why did I send these to you?
Yeah, I cite
And I
Texas
got all the
Monthly.
Dallas. These are the Dallas Morning News coverage of the assassination.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Wow.
Would you like to have those?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Hugh Clark. Oh, wow. The great Hugh Clark, man.
Mhm.
He was such an incredible guy.
I forgot about Jimmy Brown, which was Madeline Brown's son, who was the half brother.
Yeah. And also we did Ole Damergard a couple of times.
And this is a good one with John Hankey with JFK. See, we don't do much JFK Jr., so you just bring in Hankey because he really is the top researcher.
Yeah, Jim, I'm very interested in those. Very interested.
Okay, good, Larry. I'll get them to you.
All right, this is when the conferences are beginning to fall apart.
Well, that's because there was all this, bickering going back and forth from the camp of the Conway people, Shit.
Yeah.
Send me your address, Larry.
Yeah, okay.
Now we're getting pretty close there, guys. We got the new JFK show, and we're
David Knight. That's when 007 and JFK. Great show right there. That's when we came back from Olney, and David did that wonderful presentation, where he proved that the shot from the front was such a small caliber weapon that was I think a 5mm bullet that had enough velocity and power to go through the windshield and strike JFK right.
Right, that's when we got the weapon. Yeah, that was such a good show.
Yeah, and he proved, and he showed, and he went and that was such what was the name of that? Oh my God, the weapon that he even showed, James Bond using it in one of the James Bond movies, and how it was easily disassembled.
And you could carry it under your coat.
Right under your coat and everything. That was a great show right there, David Knight. Up and coming. Let me say about David, an up and coming researcher. He's only 50. In our world, that's like a young pup.
Yeah.
Spring chicken.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, when I started, I was like in my early 50s or something, and I was a young whippersnapper. So I had the Commerce Street underpass shot. Huh?
Yeah, of course.
We went there, and then very few people talk about the flash and diversionary smoke and street stuff like that. Very good.
Bustos. Oh my God.
Conference mayhem. Yeah, this is one of my favorite shows. This is going to get a lot of views. See, these don't have a lot of views because they just been up for about 2 days, but rolling on. And then this is when all these people guilty. To me, this show solves the whole case. This is David Denton. What is his historical?
Let me tell you, man, there's a lot more to tell on good old Charlotte Sherry.
Yeah,
we gotta call her Sherry now.
The secret agent man that got away.
This Sherry, just keeps. I mean, she was right on the par with David Sanchez Morales, doing exactly the same thing that Sanchez Morales was doing out of JM Wave after he got expelled out of Cuba, and they were both working on the same things, but from different ends. She was in Mexico City and he was in Miami, and the same, exactly the same responsibilities. It's amazing. So we gotta pay a lot of attention to this woman here.
Yeah. I'm
running out of battery. Come on. What time is it?
Getting running low. We're almost done.
Running low.
All right, look, remember your D-Day style invasion on the documents. This is me and Fetzer's NASA show when Kennedy was
Ten
called.
22 your time, Larry. It's 10:22 Eastern.
Yeah, we're almost there. In fact, we are there. Look out, his book out.
Let me tell you something. I believe now the more that you get these pictures of the moon coming through with the real probes going out there, you know, you're going to start noticing a lot of embarrassment with NASA, you know, that it's just not going to pan out, you know, with what is in the record, you know, what little is in the record, versus what they are capable of doing now. Stay tuned, because this whole NASA man on the moon thing, I think, is going to explode in the near future. Jim, I don't know what you think about that.
Well, it may very well. I think the Japanese,
Right.
no, the Chinese,
Right.
you know, bringing back the samples and all that's going to blow a lot of myths, be a lot of shit shoveled by NASA out of the water.
That's right. That's what my thoughts exactly. With that,
Yeah. All right. Well, let me say this.
another night.
As much information as we have here, I still have 30 more shows to post.
Excellent, Gary. You're doing a great job with it, my friend.
All right, so I guess we can call it on that since we're.
Yeah,
All right,
good.
brother.
Good work. Good work. Good work.
Jim, see if you can get that Heritage of Stone downloaded. It's on that
I will.
transfer.
I will, Larry. You
And
send
I
me your
think
address. I'll get you
we
this.
could do some passages on that maybe next week. You know, I mean, it's really
Okay.
All right, you got it.
Good
All right,
stuff.
fellas.
Okay.
JFK show number 277. We've been down memory lane. Enjoyed it,
Good
fellas.
work.
Next time.
all right.